Good morning, everybody. Oh, so much better. Thank you. It is a joy to be here this morning with all of you and with our honored panelists today. I am Amelia Woods with the Institute for Policy Studies, and I'm really honored to be moderating this morning's session. We have a jam-packed session. We have 11 speakers, 11, and they're all dynamic, and they all are just inspiring. So we're going to try to move along quickly. And we're going to first remind you that this session is brought to you by the African Globalization Committee, which is chaired by Congresswoman Barbara Lee. The purpose of this opportunity today is to hear experiences happening throughout the diaspora, to create opportunities to link Africa, the Caribbean, the America, and yes, even Europe, in new and innovative ways. We're going to reach back in our history and understand from where we've come, and we're going to push forward through this 21st century, looking forward to new opportunities to engage as the African diaspora. We're going to begin with a video done by the Africa Channel to help put us in the right perspective this morning.
Nowhere else on the face of the earth will you find more cultural diversity. Nowhere else is there such rich and remarkable history. And nowhere does nature so
fighting against the Daniel sun.
Got the continent's pressing issues, news, and information covered.
Welcome to Africa Journal. I'm Okwi Oko in Nairobi, and this is what we have for you on this show. It's been a long time since the residents of Mogadishu, Somalia's traditional capital, have had cause to gather in such large numbers. For years, their city, like the rest of the country, has been divided and ruled by numerous warlords and their clan-based militias.
Documentaries, feature films, special events. It's entertaining television that brings all of Africa ever closer to America.
People should come to Africa and explore and learn a whole lot about other people's cultures.
I am so proud of everyone in South Africa who worked on this film. And we're more alike than we think we are around the world.
Viewers can also explore the Africa Channel online at our award-winning website and shop at the world's largest online collection of African music, movies, and DVDs at africachannelmusic.com. You can also learn about our Sister Cities International Initiative, connecting American students with schools in Africa and other noteworthy outreach programs that are helping to build strong relations between communities and affiliates. Proof that the Africa Channel means something important to viewers. We draw on Africa's most fascinating English language shows. In turn, programming is supported with an aggressive on-air promotional campaign that helps viewers find new shows and advertisers find our viewers. The award-winning Africa Channel, on the air now. We connect continents. We link cultures. We unite people. Tune in and expand your world. Experience ours. Come to the Africa Channel.
Go first. Well, we thank the Africa Channel for that incredible capsule that conveys the beauty, the culture, the music, the vitality of Africa. As I said, that's to get us started this morning, to kick us off. We are here to celebrate all of the diaspora. And we're going to begin, understand, Congressman Beverly is here and will be joining us to give brief welcoming remarks.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kirsten Bowden. I am a legal intern in the Office of Congresswoman Barbara Lee. Thank you so much for your attendance this afternoon, and thank you so much for your patience. As you know, the prep breakfast just ended, and we will be having some of our speakers, in addition to Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Dr. Malveaux, and others coming. So the panelists will be changing or adding in the coming minutes. Again, as Amira previously stated, we have a fantastic panel set for you today. As you know, we are all brothers and sisters of the diaspora, whether you're African, Afro-Caribbean, Afro-Colombian. We are all united by people of brown color. So this is an exciting panel. Feel free to dialogue with them after, if we have time for question and answers. At this time, I would like to introduce Congresswoman Barbara Lee. She is the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation African Globalism Committee, and she hopes that this is the start of a unique panel from time to time for the next couple of years concerning the African diaspora, as we know this is a hot topic and something that we all should be interested in. Congresswoman Lee.
Well, good morning, and let me first thank Kirsten for that very warm introduction, and also just say that Kirsten actually is one of our emerging leaders. She worked in my office as an intern, and now she is actually staffing this subcommittee over at the foundation, and she's an example of the brilliance and the type of commitment that our young people have to the future. So thank you, Kirsten, very much. I'm very proud of you. Give Kirsten a round of applause. Let me thank all of you for joining us today, and I want to thank our distinguished panel of international and national dignitaries, esteemed educators, business leaders, all of you for accepting this invitation to speak about a topic that's so important. We are all children of Africa, and I think that says it all in terms of why we're here and what we want to talk about. A tree that fails to nurture its branches will fail to reach its full height. A branch that fails to acknowledge that it is part of a tree will wither and cease to produce good fruit. Whether you're African, African-American, Afro-Caribbean, from Latin America, Afro-Colombian, our branches are ever linked through the African diaspora tree. Unity is the message that you will hear today from the panelists. It's a message that, as the slogan of the African Globalism Committee states, embraces our legacy and transforms our future. Despite geographic distance and other differences that we may have, we have shared and do share a common history, and the political and cultural forces that link the branches to the tree are still strong, and they also need to be strengthened. Throughout history, members of the diaspora community have stood together in the fight for each other's struggles. Africans supported African Americans' quest for civil and human rights during the civil rights movement of the 60s. African Americans in America, we helped mobilize with the international community our efforts to help abolish apartheid in the 70s and the 80s. Now, as the world has become increasingly intertwined, we must unite again to establish structured opportunities for joint business ventures and technological transfers, educational exchanges, and cultural awareness between African Americans, Africans, and other Afro-descendant populations. Our communities face many common economic, health, social challenges. Many of these challenges we all unfortunately share. This couldn't be more evident than in the HIV/AIDS global pandemic. As all of you know, AIDS is devastating the African diaspora in the Caribbean, in Africa, and yes, in the United States of America. Today, over 33 million people are infected around the world, and these numbers are alarming. And we must continue to pull together and fight together and work together to put an end to this moral and humanitarian crisis. And when we work together, we can work miracles, really. For example, and I have to mention this to you because we were on a trip last year to South Africa with my colleague who will be here in a few minutes, a great woman who chairs our Health Brain Trust from the Virgin Islands, Congresswoman Donna Christensen, Dr. Donna Christensen, who's leading the Congress in healthcare reform. Well, we were there in South Africa on World AIDS Day. Dr. Elsa Scott, CEO of the foundation, and other staff members of the foundation were there. My staff, Tatiana, was there. And you know, we had many meetings. We talked about HIV and AIDS. Donna and I were tested publicly. Many young people followed our lead. We were very proud of that. And we were in some meetings, and people were asking us, why in the world is President Nelson Mandela barred from entering the United States without a visa waiver? Why is President Nelson Mandela, why are members of the African National Congress still on the terrorist watch list? I said, oh my God. I called my office in Washington, D.C. Congresswoman Christensen got on it. She's on the Homeland Security Committee. So when we returned home, we devised and swiftly educated a legislative game plan. With the help of my Congressional Black Caucus colleagues, Congressman Don Payne, I serve on the International Relations Committee, and he may be here later. He's a great leader, has done so much to bring the African diaspora together. We introduced a measure, and it unanimously passed both the House and the Senate. Unanimously passed. But then you know what? There was a delegation going to South Africa to commemorate President Mandela's 90th birthday. And the bill got stuck. And I was trying to participate in this delegation. But I couldn't go. I couldn't go because I wanted to make sure, and this is according to the rules of the House, you know, one Republican, one Democrat had to stay late one night before, or they would shut down and recess. So we stayed late one night, myself and Congressman Royce, so that we could get this bill passed and signed into law before President Mandela's birthday. And so we said, happy birthday, President Nelson Mandela. Finally our country is on the right side of history, and we were able to remove him and the African National Congress from the terrorist watch list. And I tell you, that is a testament to the Congressional Black Caucus, to the Congressional Black Caucus Foundation, and the kind of insight and action that all of us try to have as we work not only on domestic policy, but on our foreign policy. And so while we may be from different countries, we must remember that we are all related through our homeland, our motherland, Africa. We're not maybe, again, from the same place, but we do share a common blood. In conclusion, let me just remind you of Sankofa. This is the head of the mythic bird, Sankofa, looks back when it flies forward. This Ghanaian adage teaches us that we must reach back to our roots, learn from our mistakes, gather the best of what our past has taught us in order to achieve our full potential and to move forward. So thank you again for being here. Let's take that message of Sankofa and strengthen the ties that bind. God bless you.
We thank Congresswoman Lee for her brilliance, for her leadership, for convening and having the vision to convene us today to talk about issues related to the African diaspora. And as Congresswoman Lee pinpointed the HIV/AIDS pandemic, I think it's a wonderful segue into our next speaker. We are honored to have, he is a doctor as well as the Premier of Bermuda, and he joins us really celebrating all of the dynamism of the Caribbean and the African world, but he also brings a commitment to health care for all, not only in Bermuda but around the world. We thank him for his leadership, and I just ask you to join me in welcoming the Honorable Dr. Edward Brown, Premier of Bermuda.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I didn't come to talk about penicillin this morning, but I'm proud of that hat when I wore it. Before I begin, I know I only have 3 to 5 minutes, so I have to compress this. I want to introduce one of our ministers from Bermuda, the Minister of Health, the Honorable Nelson Bascom. I do believe that in trying to put the pieces back together, that we have to link up wherever and whenever we can. The process of breaking us apart was not a rapid one, and the process of putting us back together will not be a rapid or convenient one. And so let me spend a few moments talking about the importance of linkage. And in this context, linkage with the Congressional Black Caucus, because I believe this is a practical consideration and one that will lead us, if we can manage it, to bring about important practical change in our region and in the diaspora. The Congressional Black Caucus is a key element in our work. That is to say, not only do we recognize the political importance in the United States of the Congressional Black Caucus, but we recognize the caucus's ability to influence policy within the United States government. I'll give you an example. We have a strong relationship with the Congressional Black Caucus, and we're proud of it. When I became Premier a few years before that, I'm not proud to tell you that one of my predecessors had decided that the recruitment or the marketing of the African American community was no longer necessary for our tourism. Well, having attended Howard University and having lived in Los Angeles for 20 years, I was embarrassed and insulted. And so upon being given the responsibility as Premier, the first commitment I made was exactly the reverse of that position. And that is that we would openly and unapologetically approach the African American community, not just to come and enjoy Bermuda as tourists, but to become a source for us for the kinds of expertise that we undoubtedly need. And Minister Bascom is here this morning. He's here for the caucus, but he's also here to talk to some health professionals, African American health professionals, to help us in Bermuda to provide psychological and psychiatric services for, first, our prison population. In Bermuda, we have a wonderful healthcare system, but we've put 90% of the attention below the shoulders. And so now we realize that we have a significant psychological deficit that needs attention. And so we did not turn to London or Sweden. We decided that it was most important to turn to the African American linkage, and that was done, and that's part of the work that he's doing here this weekend. It is important that we expand the opportunities for linkage. They do exist. In Bermuda, for example, we are on the verge of a massive hotel development plan. And one of the ways we intend to empower our black population in Bermuda is to urge them to link up with African American construction companies and to bid for multi-million-dollar contracts. That's what empowerment really means. You can talk about it all day, but the bottom line is to improve the economic well-being of our people. And we make no excuses for it. We believe that the linkage between our people and the African American community is important in our development. And as I said, we do that unapologetically. Lastly, let me say that in 2002, Bermuda hosted the first African Diaspora Heritage Trail Conference. It was a success, but for one reason or another, it didn't happen again until 2005. Since then, it has happened every year. One year, we took it to the Bahamas, and this year, it returned to Bermuda. It represents an opportunity, again, for us to come together and discuss matters primarily of tourism and culture. But I say whenever we can get together, for whatever reason, it's a good thing. And so I invite you to come to Bermuda for the Diaspora Conference. In fact, the next one in 2009 is going to be in Tanzania. And so we move it from different parts of the diaspora, and we invite you to consider joining that. And ladies and gentlemen, with 11 speakers in such a little bit of time, I want to thank you. Thanks for the invitation to be here, and thank you for listening.
I'd like to thank the Premier for his thoughtful and brief and succinct and powerful comments. We'd like to also acknowledge Eddie Bernice Johnson, who's recently joined us here today. And we are really going to be honored to have next Congresswoman join us to give some brief remarks.
Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson serves on the Science and Technology Committee, also on the Transportation Committee. She comes from Dallas, Texas, former chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, and I tell you, Eddie Bernice Johnson is an African-American woman who knows how to use her power on behalf not only of her constituents, but of the entire country and the world. So thank you, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, for stopping.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for letting me go now, because I have my Texas barbecue starting at 12, and I want to change clothes into Texas before I go. But for 16 years, I have served on the Science and Technology Committee, and my passion has been to link us through the internet and to make sure that our children are not left behind. And when I say link us, I'm talking about young people, because the older ones of us can connect really straight on. But we need to build a culture of that connection. Barbara and I and several other people, weren't you there, Donna? The World Conference on Racism? Yeah. And we learned so much there. And I'm not going to tell you all we learned, but we learned one thing, is that we are all over this planet. And many of us are doing things all over this planet. I met council people from Norway, and we all had that magnet draw to each other because we looked alike. And that's one beautiful thing we have in common, and we can usually identify us right away that way, although we come in all shades, so you can't always do that, but for the most part you can. And I have wanted, and we still need, our young people to be educated well in the math, science, and engineering. They'll come up with new products, but we are falling behind, and that is a large percentage of our young African American males in this country are dropping out of school. So we got to start there first. And then there's no reason why these young people can't just master the computer and all the world of information that's available to them there. 2 years ago, the Smithsonian Institute unveiled a program that's a virtual program between the Caribbean and the U.S. And it is something to see because they're right under our nose. You know, we are just very, very close. And, of course, the reason why we are close, because when they put those slaves off in North Carolina, South Carolina, they went straight on down the Caribbean to North and Central America. So we are all there. And, of course, we had our origin in Africa, and we have shared the experience of going back and going into those caves and seeing just what they experienced. And that alone causes you to desire to link with people of your blood all over the world. And I think the more we link, the better we'll feel, and certainly the more influential we will be. Everyone depends on the U.S. to help, but there are many, many treasures throughout the diaspora that might not come in money, but it comes in wisdom, it comes in talent, and we hope that we can do a permanent type of relationship. Congresswoman Donna Christensen from the Virgin Islands has worked hard to get us exposed, and she works very hard here in this Congress. And we share diseases, we share all type of maladies, and we share talents. So please get interested, because we are leaving a lot of our linkage and our power by not knowing where we are connected. Thank you.
Thank you, Congresswoman, for your great words and for your leadership and vision. We just have a lot going on, so we're going to try to keep on moving, okay? You all with us still? Wonderful. Well, it is truly an honor. This segment of the event is focused on international perspectives and international voices. And let me tell you all, we are in for a treat. We have with us Congresswoman Georges Pure-Lanvin, who is from France, and she is the only, are you all listening? The only member of the House, essentially, in France, who's been elected from mainland France. She was elected 12 years ago. She's still the only. She has a powerful role. There are others representing the diaspora. She's the only one who's been elected in mainland France. And her main agenda is on immigration and protection of the diaspora. But I have to tell you all, as we talk about all of the linkages of our communities, the Congress, she is also a lawyer and represented the Black Panther Party. Represented the Black Panthers after they went to France to fight for their liberation there. An extraordinary background, so we are really honored for all she's done and all she is doing to represent the diaspora in France. Welcome.
Mrs. Chairman, Mrs. and Mr. Delegates, honorable attendants, I am very glad to meet you and speak about the situation and the issues relative to blacks in Europe. But you will suffer because I am speaking a very bad English, so I beg your pardon for it. Blacks have been present in Europe since a long time. In fact, as far back as in America, because the slave transatlantic trade was based on the discovery of your continent. All European countries were involved in transatlantic trade, principally Great Britain, France, Portugal, and the Netherlands. After the last abolition of slavery in 1848, in Europe countries began colonization of Africa after sharing this continent between them. People of the colonies massively joined the continent during the war to fight for liberty or to replace the soldiers in the plants. But most of them were still living in the colonies or in the Caribbean. After the period of reaching independence, economic necessities pushed them to come in Europe for working purpose, so that today millions of people from the former French Empire are living in France, and they ask for equal opportunities and the respect of their civil rights. French policy does not include easily anti-discrimination and affirmative action, unfortunately. I think that today affirmative action should be authorized because formal assertion about equality can be sufficient. Today, in fact, in many neighborhoods, we know that people of African descent experience underrepresentation in leadership roles. They live in poor neighborhoods with worse schools and face precarious and badly paid jobs. The contribution of people of Caribbean or African heritage is unknown, whereas some black people had significant role in the ancient times. So I tried, when I was working with the mayor of Paris, to celebrate remarkable persons like the Chevalier de Saint-Georges, a talentuous classic black composer, or to explain the negative role of some historical figure in France, like Napoleon, because Napoleon restored slavery in France in the année 1802. I support also the creation of an esplanade to Gaston Monnerville to evoke the great Guyanese man who was during years the chairman of the French Senate. I think that we must create such black memory points in the great cities of France. Next will be in Paris the statue for General Dumas, the father of the novelist Alexander Dumas, who was born as a slave and defended the French Revolution. This statue will be inaugurated in Paris the 10th of December with the mayor of Paris and the Haitian embassy. We have to fight discrimination in employment, and I plead in the French Parliament for measures such as not allowing people condemned for discrimination to be on public contracts. I plead also for the inclusion concerning mention concerning diversity politics in the annual reports of all firms. Today, it does not exist in France. We have to improve also the representation of minorities and black people among elected representatives. That's why I fighted to be nominee and elected in Paris as representative in the French Parliament, because I think that main political parties must understand that we can't progress if a large part of the population is not concerned in democratic system. First of all, I think we must pay attention of what is occurring in other countries of Europe, like the UK of Netherlands, because they have many interesting experiences to promote minorities. African, Caribbean, and American people have a lot of common historical experience and struggle. Martin Luther King, Angela Davis are your heroes, but they are also ours, and we think about them every day. Let's develop links now for your future progress and help each other to succeed. Last of all, what is happening today in America with the presidential election is very promising to us. If Barack Obama wins the presidential election, it's a win for you, but it's also a victory for all of us, friends of progress and anti-racism all over the world. Thank you.
Let me thank all of our panelists, first of all, Mr. Premier and Madam Congressperson, for your very brilliant presentations and also for really making the point as to why we are here today and what we are trying to do at this very historic first workshop. Let me take a moment now to introduce members of Congress, members of the Congressional Black Caucus, who you all know in a variety of capacities, but they not only are leading the Congress, but they're leading the country and the world in a new direction each and every day. First, my sister, Congresswoman Donna Christensen from the Virgin Islands. She's our medical doctor in the Congressional Black Caucus. She is a daughter of the Caribbean. She's leading the Congress in healthcare disparities in terms of how we begin to close the healthcare disparities in our community, and she's very key in terms of the healthcare debate and reform efforts. But also, let me just say how Donna constantly, whatever we're doing, on whatever policy, whatever initiative we're engaged in, she says, don't forget the Caribbean. You know, don't forget the Caribbean. And so I just want to thank you, Donna, for being that voice of conscience for us.
Thank you, Barbara. And good morning, everyone. And you know that I don't have to beg or cry too loud because the Barbara Lee and the rest of the Congressional Black Caucus are always there for Africa and the Caribbean. I just want to bring greetings to everyone here. This is a coming together that has been long in coming, but we are here to share and to share ideas and to plan for our future. And this session is one that's very, very important. We share bloodlines, we share history, and the times demand that our family really come together and work together closer than ever before. We share many challenges, and I'm talking here about the African American community, the Caribbean community, and the African community. We share disproportionate cases of HIV and AIDS, as well as chronic diseases. We share the need for more economic development so that we can lift all of our people into jobs and to a better future. We share the need to expand education so that all of our children will have a quality education. We share the need to stem the tide of the brain drain from our communities and to keep our brightest and best in our communities so that they can be role models for our children and lift our communities up. Many times, as we travel to the Caribbean and to countries in Africa, people look, and as they should, to the Congressional Black Caucus for help. And we are here to help. But what sometimes is not understood is that the African American community is very much in the same place. And so our coming together to share things that are happening in the Caribbean, things that are happening in Africa, things that are happening here in our African American communities, to share those events, ideas, the progress that some communities are making will only make us all stronger. But we have to do it together. We have to do it together. And as we come together and we look at some of the challenges that we face, I come from the U.S. Virgin Islands, so I'm right in the Caribbean. As we look at some of the challenges that we face with trade, with trade and aid from our country, which has diminished over the years, with the failure to really support the Third Border Initiative, where we put demands on our Caribbean countries for homeland security, and in times that their budgets really have been struggling without help from our country. As we look at all of those things happening, I think that I tend to look to our bigger brother, Africa, where there are so many resources and so much interest to help to bolster the support for the smaller economies of the Caribbean that really need help, to bolster the support for our African American communities here that are also ignored too often. So coming together for this event is something that has been long in coming. It's something that we need to take full advantage of today. I want to thank my sister Barbara for her work. We've been doing this together for several years for HIV and AIDS, where we bring all of, not only Africa, the Caribbean, and Black America, but South America and Central America together as well. And we've seen the results of coming together at this ALC to discuss just that one issue. And now we have, through her help, through the help of Don Payne, and with the support of the Congressional Black Caucus, $47 billion over 5 years for PEPFAR, and a PEPFAR now that reaches out to all of the Caribbean. And so today, we make another start together. And we can look forward as we prepare for November 4th and for our new president, who looks like us, is one of us, spans the continents, actually. We're going to have a better day, and our family will be better off as we work together under our new president. So thank you very much for the opportunity to bring greetings.
Thank you very much, Donna, for being here. Everyone's schedule, I know yours, the panelists, is very hectic today. And so I think the members of Congress who have joined us, you see how important this is to them just by their presence today. And I will ask now our leader, Congressman Payne, to come forward, who comes from Newark, New Jersey. But Congressman Payne chairs the Africa subcommittee of the International Relations Committee. And I've had the privilege to work with him on so many issues since I have been a member of Congress. That's since 1998. And I have got to tell you that Africa would not be on our foreign policy agenda at all if it weren't for Congressman Don Payne. We would never have declared genocide as what is taking place, which it is, in Darfur, if it weren't for Congressman Don Payne. I could go on, but Don, thank you so much for stopping by. Come on, because I know you have a busy day, and he's our head of state.
Thank you very much, and let me commend Congresswoman Lee and the group that put this together, and we welcome those from the diaspora who are here, and I think this is a step in the right direction. We've been dealing, actually in 2003, we created a working group where we brought together elected officials, the Congressional Black Caucus Western Hemisphere Working Group back in 2003. And from that working group, we had taken really a leadership role in the plight of African Americans or African Caribbeans. And as a matter of fact, shows how key, because we've been able to get many concessions in Colombia because of a resolution that was introduced by some of us and kind of spearheaded by me. But it was H-Res 6918, recognizing the importance of addressing the plight of Afro-Colombians who have disproportionately been impacted by 4 decades of war, and the question of the marginalization of Afro-Colombians in Colombia. Well, we've had more meetings with the president of Colombia, Uribe, because he wants the Colombia Free Trade Agreement passed. Not that he's in love with us, but we've been able to really get tremendous concessions for Afro-Colombians in Colombia. We've gotten affirmative action programs going. We've got university programs trying to restart a concept with Howard. And the same thing in Brazil. I will be visiting there soon, as you know. Brazil has started an affirmative action program. They want to look at our historically black colleges and universities, and the ambassador Sobel just called yesterday. When can we come down? Barbara, we were supposed to go down this week, but the country got broke. I don't know why they got to get break. Why they have to get broke during the Black Caucus's annual legislative conference? I mean, we only asked for one week a year, and they messed that up. But let me just say that we have a lot of work to do. We have this year commemorated the 200th anniversary of the abolition of transatlantic slavery. And there is a commission that we're trying to form and get funded to celebrate the abolition. Of course, slavery did not end, but by law, the Congress passed a bill in 1807, signed into law by Jefferson in 1808. And as a matter of fact, the reason it was not until 1807 was because when they formed the Constitution back in when they had the first Continental Congress in 1879, South Carolina and Georgia said, we're not going to sign if you're going to have anything to do with slavery. So they had to have a 20-year moratorium before they could even discuss slavery. So we're certainly joined together. We have won some commitments with Barbara's help and others on the Durban conference coming up in April, where we have the U.S. supporting it rather than opposing it, in Geneva, where conference on racism and xenophobia, where we talk about the conditions of people of African descent throughout the world, because we have problems all over the world. I just came back from France and Belgium, and in Belgium they need blacks who are coming up from the Congo because of the lack of population growth. But they don't want them, but they need them. They bring them in, and then they treat them bad. We've got a lot of serious things in Russia. The anti-black sentiment has gotten out of proportion. And so this conference on racism and xenophobia, and even we're finding that blacks are even attacking on blacks, as in South Africa, because of the poverty and so forth. We saw the xenophobia against Zimbabweans and Botswanans in South Africa several months ago. So we have a lot of work to do to keep our eyes on this whole diaspora. And let me once again commend the panel. I wish I could stay, but I know it'll be successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Don. As you also heard, he's a historian, too. So thank you, Don, for being here and for that presentation. Let me now ask a great warrior, one who is number, I think, one in terms of seniority in the House of Representatives, a person who, Congressman Payne mentioned Durban, South Africa. You know, at the last at the first Durban conference, Secretary Powell and this administration wouldn't allow an official U.S. delegation. Well, Congressman Conyers, myself, Congresswoman Christensen, there were about 7 of us, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson, who said, well, if they're not going to allow our country to be representative, we're going to designate ourselves the official U.S. delegation, and that is what we did. Congressman John Conyers was part of that effort. So come on up, John, and thank you so much. Chair of the Judiciary Committee from Detroit, Michigan, keeping our Constitution together during this very perilous time.
Thank you so much, Barbara Lee, and all of our great colleagues that are here and from the Congressional Black Caucus, and all of you. What a moment of genius, again, wasn't it, of Barbara Lee, to determine that this was the one thing missing from all the 37 other Congressional Black Caucuses. Give her a round of applause. It's true, I'm the chair of the House Judiciary Committee, but we're not here to discuss the impeachment of anybody in the U.S. government. Are we? Not so sure. Okay. Well, let's consider some names then, since we haven't ruled it out altogether. But the list is so long. And I won't ask a show of hands or any other kind of public revelation of who would it be first. No, the vice president, man, deserves it even more than our hampered, disabled executive in the White House. And this is great. I mean, we meet here, we're debating. The reason we're running in and out is there's a little bill on the floor, $700 billion. Now, but what is it for? To bail out the people that got us in this mess? Or is it to deal with the people who are the victims of the subprime scandal and the mortgage ripoffs and the crises that are following? And so I'm in some, I would need your considered advice, panel and attendees here. You see, there'd be a one simple way, and I'm figuring out whether I have the courage. See, over the years, you lose some of your steam. You start going, you hit your peak, and then you start going down. Now, the question is whether, Chairman Conyers, you will be the one that stands up and say, let's take this $700 billion and divide it among the families of the United States of America and then bring in the new Department of Justice and prosecute the people who've stolen billions and billions of dollars. Well, I don't know if I'm up for that yet. You got my back. Okay, I feel better now. But at the same time, as Don Payne pointed out, we meet here, and they got me in and fixed me up and got me here, but I'm going up the steps and coming in to this great center here in Washington and saying hello to a few people. This is the most good-looking crowd of people I have ever been around. I mean, I have to even compliment the gentlemen today. They're looking sharp. And we haven't even got to tonight, where you're going to really show out tonight. But the ladies here, if I can only take a second. I mean, the Oscars, the Emmy, the Oscars, the Emmys, the Image Awards have nothing on this gathering here today. You'd think we had been given $700 billion. We're so sharp. You thought something good happened to us. And so I'm here to very proudly join you and speak to only one point in this enormous agenda that brings us here today. And that is temporary protective status for Haitians in the United States of America. It is immoral and criminal that this country would do this to Haiti, their neighbor. 4 storms, hurricanes, tsunamis in a row. And they were catching help before the weather went bad. It's not like this just happened. Systematic discrimination, oppression that had been going on for a very long time. And so I want to pledge to you that in this new administration, I will be working. This is the first piece of foreign affairs legislation I want to be on. And Hastings and Meeks and Barbara Lee, all of us have been on it. Payne. Look, this cannot stand. We can't let this go down. And so I just want you to know that this panel, now newly created, includes a larger examination and awareness of the state of Mother Africa and the islands in the whole system of countries on the planet. Things are getting worse. And it's due to unregulated capitalism. How long will it, I study my kids' books, and of course, yes, they go to a private, excellent school. It doesn't stop me from fighting hard for the crumbling public school systems that I came out of. But I'm looking at their books. They're studying things that I had to learn outside of school. And they're studying them routinely. World problems, world pollution, problems in other countries. And we, some of us, are still examining. Is that Dr. Ron Daniels in the back that just came in? Please stand and take a bow, Dr. Ron Daniels. Oh, and Reverend Lennox Yearwood. Reverend Yearwood, please stand too. He's been doing great work. But here we are trying to figure out how we get a little bit more in the foreign aid package and how we squeeze something into continuing resolution and how we slip something in here and there. We, the Congressional Black Caucus, is the conscience of the Congress, the whole Congress, House and Senate. And we have a member of the Congressional Black Caucus standing right now 41 days from becoming the 44th President of the United States of America. 41 days. And so I want to impress upon you the importance of each of us here today, each of us here at this 38th Annual Congressional Black Caucus event. Everything we do and say between now and then will determine whether he becomes the President of the United States of America. Isn't that powerful? Talk about power. It's up to you. And it takes two forms, and I'm through. One, when you get up to 50% voting in the United States after tens of thousands of people died, destroyed, to get to, they didn't want you to run for office, they didn't want you to vote, they didn't want you to register to vote. That could cost you your life within the memory of everybody in this room. I mean, under no circumstances. We will, they said, we will tear up the United States of America before we allow that to happen. And almost did. And so what we've got to understand is that our power now reaches beyond the ballot box, but 50% turnout, we celebrate, man, we got 51% of the vote. We ought to get 85, 90% of the vote out in our ranks across America. And everything you and your organizations can do will make that happen. Under the circumstances, it's pretty easy to make a case for Barack Obama, please. I mean, we got a fellow who's lived in so much wealth that he can't remember how many homes he owns. Yes, he's a hero, but heroes don't deserve to become president because your plane got shot down and you were brutalized in prison for years. That doesn't make you experience. It doesn't give you any information on foreign policy. You don't know a thing about foreign policy because you were brutalized by a hostile enemy. I respect that. But this man is so rich, he doesn't even understand what we're going through in this country. So if this were in a more regular circumstance, his opponent would win by a landslide. There wouldn't be anything to talk about. And I never thought I would say this, and I close by saying this. We could end up with an administration worse than the one we got if we don't elect Senator Barack Obama President of the United States. Thank you for your kind attention.